1320 AM KSCR, Eugene, Springfield. Info Radio. News, information, and entertainment. 1320.
My name is Jacob Larson, and this is the Common Sense Show. Last week, I started the show with something that I hadn't quite planned. I had given everyone listening the expectations they should have of me and what I do and why I do it. Hopefully that clarified some things for some people. And then Theron and I discussed the blog I wrote called Great Expectations, and I was able to give out a little bit more detail into what I meant and the type of expectations I was referring to in that blog. And I got some good responses. Some people really enjoyed the blog and liked the clarification of it. Apparently, it had left some people a bit confused, so it was good to get that straight. It's kind of funny how last week's show worked out because, like I said, I hadn't really planned to start out the way I did, but how it tied into the rest of the show was actually, that was kind of cool. So every relationship you have is built on unwritten, unsaid, unexpressed levels of expectations. If you have people in your life that you care about, it's your job to figure out what those expectations are. A lot of times people aren't going to be willingly giving you those expectations. They're just simply going to have them in their back pocket. They're going to think this is how this person's my friend, this is how friends behave, so this is what's going to happen. And, you know, if you don't clarify exactly what they mean, what their expectations are, you can find yourself in a little bit of pinch. So you want to know how they perceive you and what they expect of you in regards to your relationship, whether it's a friendship, intimate relationship, a marriage, co-workers, family members, etc. It's an important thing to know and be aware of. It will help you build strong and lasting relationships. So don't discount or dismiss what I'm saying. Refer back to the blog if you need to. Go to www.buycommonsense.com and read it again. Use it as a reminder to stay in tune with the ones you care about and to be that person that is worthy of receipt. You have a responsibility to the people you're involved with, and it isn't one to be taken lightly. Trust that is lost is not easily replaced, so you have to work at it. If you hold value in the people around you, then it's in your best interest to cultivate that trust by behaving in a manner that is recognized and accepted by them. Not by you, by them. Once again, to reconfirm what I said last week, you have your level of expectation, what you think a friendship is, what you think an intimate relationship would be. Your goal, your job is to figure out what their expectation is, what they think, so you're both on the same page. And you want to share your expectations with them. If you don't do that, your friends will not stay friends. Your marriage will deteriorate. The relationships in your life will suffer. That's how it works. When people aren't paying attention to other people and they're not doing the things that they need to help or to stay in tune or involved with that other person. That's how relationships deteriorate. That's what happens. So you need to get it together in that regard and pay attention to the people around you, or you'll find yourself alone, living a long, long, lonely life all by yourself, like some people in this studio today. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Okay, so when we were leaving the studio last week, you had asked me, why are conservatives so angry? And we discussed it a bit, and thought we'd pose it as a question on today's show and look at the question a little deeper. So if anybody out there has any questions for Theron or myself during the show, please call in at 541-284-7953. Once again, that number's 541-284-7953. Give us a call. Tell us what you think. And I promise this time on this show, I'll absolutely take your call. I'm not going to I'm not going to be pushing people off and say I don't want to hear from you because I do. Okay, so why did you pose the question? Why do you think conservatives are so angry?
All right. Well, we were coming up with show topics, and I thought, something. I'm not real passionate about politics. In fact, I kind of despise it.
People think saving money is hard.
All right, we'll fix that. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, but I am genuinely interested in what people think and believe. All right, and I try to get to the bottom of why they believe what they do. And, because I don't do politics one way or the other, I've always prided myself in being a centrist, and I've been registered as non-affiliated since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
I just chose not to get into it. It just seemed like this big game where people are, they're like telling you to pick a side. You're with us or you're against us. And if you're on our side, then you need to more or less demonize the other side.
But why would you associate that type of behavior with simply conservative?
Well, I don't. I'm just saying, from what I'm seeing, I see a lot more animosity coming from the right than I do from the left, and I guess that's because I work in radio, and the radio waves are for the most part dominated by conservative talkers, and so I'm more exposed to the topics of conservatives than I am of liberals. So I think at least in radio, the voice is louder.
Conservatives definitely dominate the radio market.
Right.
I'll give you that.
Right.
But to answer your question earlier in terms of why people get so worked up, politics. And on one hand, you said, I don't care much for politics, but I do like hearing about people's opinions and what they think and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. Politics is an extension. It's the embodiment of what people think and believe and how they live their lives. Mm-hmm. This is the number one reason why political issues are so volatile. Mm-hmm. Because, when somebody's talking about who they are and you have somebody else agreeing or opposing who that person is, it's a personal attack on who they are, what they are as their character.
Okay, I just don't understand why they have to take, such strong issue with such things. Okay, I get it that there are some things that are going to go against a person's value system.
Yeah, I mean, in hardcore, you bring up the political debate of abortion. Mm-hmm. Okay, people fight really, really hard on that. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just, it is a social issue that basically is a spotlight on personal behavior. Mm-hmm. And so from a conservative perspective, this is a amoral thing. Mm-hmm. That not just goes against biblical teaching and stuff like that, but it's also an illogical thing in our brains, because it can be 150% prevented. It never needs to take place. Then you have the liberal side of the equation, where their response is, the morality of it is less of a concern and issue to them. They look at it from the standpoint of, if it's something that an adult chooses to do, mm-hmm. then an adult should be allowed to do it. And they condone the behavior of promiscuity, mm-hmm. of women who get pregnant simply because they forgot to take birth control, or they chose to sleep with a man that they didn't really know, first time date type of thing. And from the conservative perspective, we see liberals that will use the concept of, somebody being raped as a way to push through their agenda when it comes to abortion.
Right.
They'll simply use the rape issue and they'll say, well, what about people who are being raped? Because they should have to carry that baby. So you have one side of the spectrum that is like, okay, you know what? This issue on whether or not, babies should be aborted. This is not about. This is kind of a threefold issue here. I mean, it's amoral, it's legally it should be classified as murder, and oh, by the way, this is a giant red flag that if you somehow as a female end up in a position where you have to abort a baby, you are not, your behavior, something's not right there. You're doing something that or have done something in the past that's put you in a position that that you need to abort. And so from that standpoint, and obviously that's a generalized statement, there's lots of different scenarios out there,
Sure.
but from that standpoint,
Yep.
conservatives look at how did they get there at one point. Liberals seem to want to just set that all in the back burner and say, well, I think that regardless of what she does in her personal life, it's her business, and she should be able to just do what she wants to do. From a fiscal standpoint, okay, we don't want to pay for that stuff either.
Yeah, I understand that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Certainly, yeah.
So, and liberals seem to take the approach that, well, you should pay for it because it's a health issue. So that's just one example of how those sides work and think and operate when it comes to one issue. So, I mean, of course, people are going to be fired up on both sides. Of course, people are going to be really emotionally invested in the conversation.
Yeah.
When you sit there, you seem to not want to tell somebody else what they're doing wrong in terms of behavior. It's very politically incorrect from a liberal standpoint to look at somebody's life, their circumstance and situation, and go, hey, you know what? This is where you made mistakes. This is what's wrong. This is why you have the results you have. Conservatives, on the other hand, are like, hey, buddy, this is what's going on. This is the problem. You need to fix it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
on that issue, for sure. I mean, that's definitely a hot button issue for a lot
well,
of
I
things.
just used it as an example
Yeah.
to show two different trains of thoughts in regards to that. And I mean, and obviously I've got liberal friends out there that will probably say, well, you didn't really, voice our side as well, and, as I could have. I mean, I guess not. But I mean, the point of the matter is when you have, it's incredibly frustrating there. And when you have an issue that, like that in my perspective is somewhat cut and dried, okay? We should absolutely 100% be looking to conserve life. If we can sit here and cry as a society about the value of life when we have mass shootings go on at a high school, surely we can connect the dots and go, gee, maybe we shouldn't be killing our offspring.
Right. But don't we kill them often by sending them to war and supporting wars that, if we want to conserve life, then shouldn't we all be against war? Where often I see we have, the liberal side that's more against war than the conservatives. Conservatives seem to be more pro, patriotism and protection of our country and of our
Conserve our country, conserve American values, conserve
Okay.
our way of life.
All right, I get-
Absolutely. Conservatives will go to war all day long
right.
to do that.
But we send our precious lives to other countries where our own country is not, directly an imminent threat.
Well, I'm not. See, there's two parts of none of us, either side, want war.
Right.
I mean, do you understand? So it's not like
Sure.
conservatives just we want to go to war. That's not the case. And liberals, of course, they don't want to go to war. Liberals want to abstain from war
You're right.
at all costs.
I don't see a problem with that for the most part.
Okay, hear what I just said. Liberals want to abstain from war at all costs. Meaning that if we lose our American values, if we give up our rights if we step down or cow down to other countries, they would be all for it. So there is no conserving who we are as a nation when you have people in the nation that are willing to do that. They're going to sell you out the back door.
Right.
Conservatives, on the other hand, we don't want to go to war, Theron. That's not our gig.
Right.
But if you jeopardize or threaten our livelihood, who we are as people,
Then we defend that.
we're
I
going to
get it.
defend it.
Sure, I get that.
And see, that's the thing. I mean, you talk about the conservation of life. Hey, you know what? It should start with the simplest of life forms. You know, I mean, it should start with the very basics. I mean, and then go from there.
Right.
But that to me is common sense. It's common sense. We should be doing everything we can to protect our offspring. And I'm not trying to turn this into an abortion debate. I'm
Right.
just simply saying that's where the disconnect comes in between a liberal and conservative. I think we should conserve life, save it, protect it. Liberals seem to be fairly frivolous with it. Now, if you want to say, you know, why are conservatives angry? Frankly, that pisses me off. You know what I'm saying?
Well, sorry. You know, it's
It
just from what
pisses
I'm.
me off that something so basic, so simple of a concept. You have people out there that would rather, you know, justify their behavior on a Friday night than own up to the fact that, hey, maybe, just maybe, I should be doing everything I can to prevent this situation from happening, as opposed to just dealing with it afterwards.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, and that was pretty general what I said as far as why are conservatives angry.
I know you did. I know you did.
you
But
know-
I mean, liberals really, I mean, seriously, liberals, the liberal concept, the liberal mentality, it is literally a juvenile thought process. I mean, these are adults that behave like children. They simply have the attitude, I don't want to be told what to do. And when they don't get their way, they just throw fits and break things. And I mean, look at the Wall Street protesters. I mean, look at almost every city that these people protested in. There was damage done. I mean, city of Eugene, remember the park in the city of Eugene down here?
Yeah.
They thrashed it, absolutely thrashed it. And they turned a nice, beautiful park into a giant mud pit. I mean, the whole core group of liberals or the Democratic Party is made up of primarily the dregs of humanity, man. I mean, these people, I mean, they have no faith. They don't believe in God. They have totally amoral, self-serving, self-promoting. I mean, they are literally this is their voting bloc, and people encourage that. Conservatives, on the other hand, yeah, I mean, they're typically believers along those lines, and they typically hold jobs, and you know, I mean,
Yeah, right.
it's two different total ideologies.
Well,
that are
I
at
think
war with
that
each other.
on the extremes, I also think that, you know, you have liberals who are, you know, hardworking folks and you know,
Sure, I was
well-thinking folks.
generalizing, absolutely.
Sure. So, I mean, you're definitely going to have your extremes on either side.
Yeah, I've got liberal friends that, I mean, they hold jobs and they're clean and stuff like that. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, if there's ever an opportunity, okay, I mean, you being a male,
Right.
if there's ever opportunity to end up being with a woman that smells bad or doesn't shave, I mean, 9 times out of 10, bro, she's going to be a liberal. I guarantee.
All right. Well,
I mean, would you argue that?
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah, because I mean, that's how that side operates, man. I mean,
Oh, well, on the
the unclean
right?
people.
Okay, on the far side, sure.
they're the unclean people.
Well, all right.
Okay, so listen, what I did here, what did I do? I posed this question on Facebook.
I actually, took a look at some of the responses.
Well, you're not giving me a whole lot to go on. You got to give me a little bit more. But I
Right.
want to read this, okay? Because this is your question, and this is your topic. So hopefully you've got some more to go on here. I posed the question on Facebook. This is some of the responses I got. Okay. This guy, Jason Greer or whatever, he says, maybe angry's the wrong word. Hearing pundits like Coulter and the fat radio guy, I'm assuming he's talking about Rush.
Yeah.
And or me, I mean, I have gained a few pounds. And the likes of Glenn Beck, you really get this sense that they are being pompous and hateful.
Yeah.
And that would fall in line with what you were saying.
Yeah.
When you discuss an issue with someone who says they are conservative, it seems to automatically break down into an insult parade and less like a discussion.
Sure.
It's not surprising then that with the advent of insult politics, people with moderate views are turned off. Now, to be totally honest, I mean, I do that myself in an argument. If I'm talking to somebody and I'm trying to articulate my side, and I've repeatedly said the same thing over and over again, and I realized, okay, this person's a knuckle dragger. They're not getting it. Then I just revert to, you know what, you're stupid, and I start calling them names simply out of, fun.
Frustration, sure.
Yeah, it's fun and frustration, and it's like it's just to pacify my own peace of mind. But these guys, Coulter, the fat guy on the radio, Glenn Beck, do you really perceive them as being combative?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, not so much Glenn Beck.
Yeah, I was going to say Glenn Beck, seriously?
No,
The guy acts like a teacher.
He was more like an Armageddonist, a couple of years ago, but he seems to have toned it down. Ann Coulter, I find her pretty hateful for the most part. She
says some things that are off the wall, but
yeah,
once
she's
again,
a bomb thrower.
I think she does that to promote a little bit of thought. So I'm not really opposed to how she chooses to go about it, but she doesn't appear to me to be a hateful person.
Yeah, I beg to differ. She comes across pretty strong to me, pretty
Okay, I guess
pretty intolerant.
I guess the other question would be, why do you care? Why does it seem like? Why does it seem like from the liberal side? Let me finish. Why does it seem like from the liberal side, when the argument or discussion's brought up, they always seem to revert to, you're hurting my feelings because of the way you're saying it, or you're so angry and I don't like the way you say it. Why do liberals always seem to curl up into a little ball that way?
I don't always see that.
You don't see that?
No.
Okay, but this is what, I mean, seriously, I've gotten into numerous debates online, and sometimes I come across very strong, very fervent in what I'm saying.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, you always have these jokers that'll pop on and go, hey, you're just so mean. You just said it so rude. You know what? Who cares? I mean, it's almost like these people have no backbone. Well, I mean, it does make sense because they have kind of a juvenile mentality. So in my mind, it does make sense because they get their feelings hurt easy, and then they either A, say, well, I'm not going to play anymore, and they walk off the playground, or B, they simply they curl up in the fetal position and play the victim.
Yeah, I think we can agree to disagree, and I think if it's bringing up topics
you
to
mean that part where nobody understands either side?
No,
that's the admission. When you agree to disagree, you're admitting that neither one of each other were able to articulate either side effectively to get the other person to understand.
No, you can definitely articulate your point without somebody saying, "Okay, yeah, you're right."
But
or
sometimes, Theron, opinions are based on BS and they're wrong.
True.
They're just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
Just because you say, well, I have my own opinion, you have yours, doesn't validate or support your opinion.
Right. I think we can discuss things without getting to the bomb throwing and the name calling, and you know what I mean?
Well, I was kind of hoping to do that here.
Yes. Right.
For this topic.
Yeah, right. And we're working on it. We're not into bomb throwing and name calling and whatnot.
Okay, so here's another one. Lucy says, Lucy Barnett, she says, both sides have my disgust.
I second that.
We don't hear so much about the Dems because they rule the media, and I believe they have a bigger tent. The rabid right wing has ruined the Republicans, in my honest opinion, and because of their religious views, which are rigid, They take no prisoners. They will split the Republican Party. I'm thinking. I feel somewhat left out. May consider going non-aligned.
And that's pretty much where I stand.
Well,
For me, it's like, why get yourself so worked up over people and policies of which you have no control? And literally every day, you know, I've gotten to the point where I don't even really log into Facebook very often anymore. But, you know,
Exactly.
I see these angry posts, and it's all, you know, just vile hatred towards Obama. And to
he's the front guy.
Okay, he's the front guy, and it was the same when Bush was president. You know,
It was worse when Bush was president.
I don't see it as worse. I see it as equal. But
when
you know,
when you see the vicious and vile attacks that came from the left to Bush, I mean, it was off the charts, unprecedented stuff towards the president.
Yeah.
And Obama, for the most part, has been protected by the media. He's protected by, you know, the people who follow him and stuff like that. And conservatives, frankly, they don't throw as good at jabs when it comes to how they bash Obama. So I mean, I really saw some good jabs and stuff thrown at Bush, but when it comes to Obama, it's kind of weak in my opinion. I mean, the only thing that conservatives can really do effectively on a routine basis with Obama is just repeat the fact he's a socialist. He's a socialist.
and that's
he's a
all
socialist. he's a
you
socialist.
hear, and it's so.
Well, that's what
tired.
I'm saying. I mean, you can't sit there and say it's the same on both sides when it comes to criticisms because conservatives just aren't as good at it.
I don't know, because you know, for me, I see what people post, and it's pretty angry stuff, and it does come from both the left and the right. So I'm not choosing a side and saying, oh, these guys are worse. And and when I threw that question out there, it's because, like I said, that's what I'm the most exposed to is
But
the
Lucy,
comments and the opinions from right.
Lucy brings up a good point. I mean, the bottom line is the non-affiliated, nonpartisan, you know, category of the voting bloc has skyrocketed, and I think that's why. I think that's why people are leaving both sides, whether it be Democrats and Republicans, and they're picking a middle ground. They're trying to pick a middle ground because they're tired of hearing the you know, vicious.
Which I think is wise, you know, because I see a lot of, you know, I hear it on the radio, a lot of these conservatives, they want you to be on their side. They don't want you to take a centrist point of view. It's like, no, you're with us or you're against us.
You know, frankly, from my personal standpoint, I could give a crap which direction people vote as long as they could figure out some basic concepts like that.
Right.
Basic concepts meaning like, hey, maybe we should prevent conception as opposed to kill the baby after conception. What a novel concept. Why don't we just like agree that makes sense, because it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. I mean, when it comes to gun control and stuff like that, hey, you know what? You can have all the gun laws you want. It's not going to prevent what took place at that school.
Sure,
that
totally agree.
comes from something.
I think we need to address the mental issue.
Exactly. It comes from something entirely different. So why are we wasting our time talking to these idiots that literally can't grasp basic concepts?
I know, and
that's the frustrating thing.
And that's frustrating for me because in America we have the action followed by the overreaction, and it's with everything, and everything becomes politicized, and it's so frustrating.
Politics are an extension of what we do, what we say, what we think, our behavior, how we carry ourselves. So everything that we do, of course, is going to end up on a political stage at some point in time, on some level. I mean, you can talk about it. Okay, so this one's actually really good. This lady is Kimberly Callahan, and I've actually quoted her on the show before. Absolutely hilarious. She says, "I'm not angry, but I know why liberals are, because they are ugly, and that makes them angry. So they get all resentful of us hot conservatives and our happiness and our amazing smiles."
Oh boy.
See, now I think that's actually, I think that got me to thinking, okay? And I thought, you know what? Kimberly may have just given me the ace in the hole here in regards to this question, why are conservatives so angry?
Yeah.
Because what I did is I printed off some pictures here.
Okay.
And I just want to hold them up.
All right.
And have you look at them. Okay. And I want you to tell me, does this person look angry or not?
All right.
Angry?
This is really off the cuff. I haven't seen this previously.
I haven't shown you these pictures,
right.
and nobody listening can hear. But or can see them, but I just want to hold them up.
All right.
And
So what do we got here? Picture number one. Does
Picture
that
number
person-
one. Is this person look angry?
I would say that's neither anger nor pleasure. That looks more like intent listening.
Listen,
Concern?
we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail here. It's either angry or not
Doesn't
angry.
look angry. No.
You're going to call her not
no.
angry.
I don't know who that is, but not angry.
Okay. Does she look like a walrus?
You know what? I'm not going to judge.
This is Janet Napolitano,
Okay.
and yeah, she looks angry there. Okay, so let's see. This person right. Okay. This person right here. Does this person look angry?
Let me see it a little closer. No, it doesn't look angry at all.
She doesn't look angry at all.
All right.
Okay. This is Laura Ingraham.
All right.
Okay. And if you notice, if the side by side, Janet Napolitano and Laura Ingraham, which would you say is more attractive?
Well,
Answer, damn it!
okay.
I know
yeah. Okay. Laura Ingraham.
You're looking at
looks-
Laura Ingraham. Okay, so let's. Okay,
but
so
you
okay.
could do
Listen,
the
this is
same
one
with-
for Kimberly's
All right.
hypothesis.
But you could do the same with both sides.
No,
I mean, you could
listen.
take-
I'm doing the same with both sides right now.
No,
I'm
but-
holding it. This person right here. Okay,
Okay,
Janet
yeah.
is a liberal Democrat freak. Okay,
All right.
look, she looks like she's been beat with a brick.
All right.
Okay, and then you got Laura Ingraham.
Okay.
And she's smoking fine,
She looks good.
and
Yeah.
she's a conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you were just voting based on these pictures, I mean, you'd vote for Laura, and you just basically.
Well, the other lady there doesn't look angry. She just looks like she's
She looks
concerned.
like she's been beaten with a brick. Okay, so this. Okay, now this one you'll recognize this one. Does this person look angry?
Hillary Clinton. She doesn't look angry.
It's either angry or not.
Not.
You think she doesn't look angry?
She doesn't look angry. Not in
Okay.
that picture anyway.
But she looks like a battle axe, doesn't she?
Oh,
I mean, if you had to wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and look like that, I mean, you'd be angry at the world too.
right.
Admit it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Hillary Clinton. Now, does this person look angry?
Who's that? Ann Coulter?
This is you want to hold that one
Really?
closer, I'm sure. That's Ann Coulter.
Not Photoshop?
No, absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not. No, these
okay.
are all absolutely legit. And
All right.
And the reason why the conservatives have full body pics and the Democrats don't is because, oh my God, look at the Democrat faces. Would you want to see
Come
the rest of it?
on. You talk about Hollywood liberals and all their,
Listen, that's just how it
makeup and-
printed. Okay, I had no control over that. But listen, this is Ann Coulter, and does she look angry?
not in that picture.
No, not at all. Right?
All right.
Okay, and out of these two, side by side, which is more attractive?
Well, of course. Ann
Okay,
Coulter
so
looks
that's
more-
two for Kimberly's hypothesis that happens to be accurate. Okay, so now
Oh,
listen,
I could come up
you know
with
what I
pictures like
asked you-
this
you
all day
said
long
you,
too.
Okay, you could come up with it, but you didn't. This is your topic.
All
I
right.
told you to prepare. I did some preparation.
I didn't know
so-
we were going to do picture
well, you
selection.
know what?
Because I could get some
You
beautiful
can't get-
Hollywood
you can't get
liberals
Jack.
to.
Who's this? Who's this? Is
I
this
have-
person angry?
I have no idea who that is.
This is Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
So what do you think?
She doesn't look very happy there.
She doesn't look very happy
No.
there.
No.
Okay. You know that every picture I looked at on net is looked like this. It's the same. There's not one smile.
All
the
right.
entire time. So
All
it's
right.
not like I went through and I just picked that. Okay, but so yeah, she looks mean. Or that's not true. Here's a picture of her smile.
Wow.
You ever seen a horse?
That's freaky.
Okay, so that's Nancy Pelosi.
All right.
Now, okay, once again, okay, this is does this person look angry?
Now that would be Photoshop.
This is so not Photoshop. This is Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice.
All right. So Condoleezza Rice says Playboy Bunny.
And, no, and she's smoking fine too. But I mean, okay, so
All right.
so there, does she look angry?
No. She doesn't.
Okay, well, once again, Pelosi's a liberal Democrat freak, and Condoleezza Rice is a,
All right.
conservative Republican. And
Sure.
She looks fine.
She looks good there.
Okay.
But you could do the same thing with Bush
But see
or
that- no, no, no.
Obama or whatever.
Bush,
just-
if you want to hold up pictures of guys, you can.
But you know what I'm
this is my
saying?
point.
I mean, you can
Okay,
show
look.
pictures of somebody who's on the left or the right
Okay,
with
now
an
look,
angry or a happy
okay,
look
now
on their face.
I have a couple. Okay, so this is Michelle Obama.
Oh God, that is like the worst picture
Stop.
you could ever
Listen,
find.
You
of
know what?
her.
I didn't. It just the image came up and printed what I had. Okay. But this is Michelle Obama. Okay, does she look angry?
Well, in that
Does she look
picture,
angry?
she absolutely does.
Okay,
yeah.
don't in that picture. She looks angry, doesn't she?
In that picture.
Okay, and so this is what we have as our first lady.
You couldn't pick a more attractive
This is what we have as
picture
our
ever?
first lady. This angry woman, and here we have Laura Bush.
What?
Here we have Laura Bush. That's right. You want to hold that one closer. That's Laura Bush. Okay, and does she look angry at all? Does she look angry at all?
You know, where did you get these pictures? They all look like they're Playboy models.
Okay, you know what?
You're freaking me
Listen,
out.
when I close my eyes, this is what Laura Bush looks like.
All right.
Bottom line is, okay, out of these two, Laura Bush was the first lady, and here we have Michelle Obama as the first lady. And which one's more attractive?
There's no way that's a...
Which one's more attractive?
In that particular instance, Laura. Bush.
Obviously, Laura Bush. Okay, so once again, okay, that's conservative. It's a conservative that doesn't look angry. So far, what Kimberly said is the most accurate out of everything. And then we have, the deal or the clincher here. Okay, this woman right here.
All right.
Who's that?
You know what? That looks like...
That's Megyn Kelly. Bro.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of a slam dunk done deal.
Yeah, wasn't she like
She's a conservative.
supermodel of some sort, or
If not, she shoulda, coulda, woulda been. But
I
mean,
think she was.
Okay, this is Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
And she's a conservative. So I'm telling you right now, you look at these pictures side by side. It's not debatable. It's not debatable, buddy. You lost. Conservative, not angry. Obviously, clearly, based on the pictures that I've shown you, the liberal Democrats, they're the ones that have the they've got kind of the issue going on.
All right. Hey, we're late for a break, so we're going to
Okay.
go take that break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. You're listening to The Common Sense Show.
And this is Jacob Larson. You're listening to The Common Sense Show. If you'd like to give me and Theron a call here at the studio, give us a call at 541-284-7953. So prior to the show, if for people who just tuned in, maybe the one or two people, or nobody. Okay, so he had the question of, why conservatives are so angry. Somebody had posed online, said that, that the bottom line was, conservatives are hot and liberals are not. And then I proved that. I did prove that
With some selected photos.
No, like I said, I just typed in their names, and what came up, and I printed it off. It's not my fault that the women on the liberal side, have the expression of, hate, bitterness, frustration, anger with every photo that gets taken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really not.
Okay.
It's not my fault, and also it's not with my control to, when I pull up the conservative side, that it happens to be full body shots in bikinis. That's not my fault either.
Yeah, where are you getting those, man?
It just pops up.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we were on a break, I had somebody send me a private message.
Okay.
Listening to the show, they said, this is what they said. They said, libs would be far more likely to participate in wars that were for honest human rights reasons, acting in defense of the poor brown people rather than the bullshit reason, disguised as acting in that defense. I'm reading, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Case in point, I would gladly join the army if our current motivation was, for example, removing China from Tibet, or if we were actually fighting in Iraq in order to provide autonomy. I don't know how to say that. Autonomy to the Kurds.
Okay.
Okay. So here's somebody listening that says, it's about the reasons why we go to war that the liberals and conservatives are split.
Yeah, I agree.
So liberals seem to be more, if it's a human rights issue, they jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
Conservatives are about not just those things, but also protecting our financial interests and stuff like that too.
All right. Yeah, I agree.
You agree? That's
Yeah.
just it. Oh yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to going to war, I think the cause really does need to be just, and I see a lot of times where we're doing things to protect our interests overseas, and we're not in any imminent danger.
Okay, but what if you had the ability? What if you had a crystal ball that you could look into and you could say in 10 years, what's going to be a problem if we allow this country to stay on the path it's staying on? What is it going to look like 10 years from now? And if 10 years from now, one of the scenarios it looks like is that could be a problem for the United States, then why wouldn't you be proactive and do what you could to take care of that problem now while it's small? Why would you wait until 10 years later?
Yeah, if we had that crystal ball where we know that.
Okay, but we kind of do. I mean, in a way.
We didn't when it came to, for example, going to war with Iraq. There was all this talk that they had the biological, the nuclear weapons, the weapons of mass destruction. And as it turned out, we didn't really find very much there.
Okay, they didn't find very much, but they did in fact find some stuff, and it was also known that Saddam Hussein had used it against his own people in the past.
Yeah,
so I mean, there was a history there.
Yeah.
My point is, if a liberal can get on board with the concept of preventative care in terms of medicine,
right,
and taking serious steps with the body to make sure that it stays healthy, stays on track, and to take care of something, find the cancer cells before they become cancer. What is so hard? What's so difficult to grasp when it comes to the United States government protecting themselves, protecting America, family values, and looking at the broader perspective of what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Asia, and saying, we're going to do our best to influence the circumstance or situation that's going on right now so that it doesn't turn into this giant glob of cancer cells that we can't get rid of, eventually kills us. I mean, that's a basic concept, right?
Right, sure.
What's so difficult to understand about that?
I think we need to be damn sure before we're sending our own flesh and blood to die for these causes. But a lot of times we don't have that. And I think the same was true with Vietnam, slightly before my time. But was it really worth the more than 20,000 men that died over there for that cause?
So let me ask you this question. Do you think Vietnam would have turned out the way it did had there been so many people opposing the war?
No. I don't think it was a winnable war. I don't think that...
Okay, it turned into, well, I mean, they had to pussyfoot around what they called it a police action.
Right.
And they had to be very careful about who they were engaging in and how they were engaging in it, because it would end up on the news.
Right.
So my point is, some of these wars, I think they get to the level they get, and they take as long as they take, and lives are lost, okay, because of the vicious level of opposition that we have. Because there's such a public outcry, and this is just a theory I'm throwing out there.
Okay.
Because of that, our military men and women are basically forced into doing everything they can to be so politically correct on the battlefield so it doesn't end up on the evening news, because the United States public, they're just not going to be able to absorb it the way it needs to be absorbed, and they're going to be pissed. And as a result, that changes the outcome, the effects of the war, and how our military men and women operate.
And things have changed a lot since then.
Would you agree or disagree? These wars turn into what they turn into because you've got serious juvenile mental boneheads out there that have this pie-in-the-sky thought process and mentality that, oh, gee, we can just sit down at a table, drink a beer, and we're just going to talk it all out.
Right. No, I get that.
And the bottom line is, when you're sitting across from somebody who wants to kill you, they want to kill you from the very essence of your being. They don't want you there. They don't want you living, breathing, or alive. They don't want to have the conversation. There's very little negotiation. Negotiation, okay, the concept of negotiation is both sides.
Right.
You have one side that's adamantly opposed to negotiating. There is no negotiations, folks. It's not there.
Right.
So my contest is this: some of these wars would not have been what they were had it not been for the liberal side turning them into what they were.
Okay.
What do you say?
Like I said, Vietnam was a little before my time, so but I get what you're saying on that, and I also think that the media has changed a lot since then too. I mean, we're not allowed to see a lot of the graphic stuff. Like you go to other countries and you see the newspapers and the news that's coming from there covering war, and you're seeing the very graphic nature of war.
Where have you been there? I mean, the news. Okay, on one hand, you can sit there and say, well, the news is dumb things down or whatever in terms of war. I don't necessarily agree with that or see that, but most importantly, they don't have to. Anybody can sit there right now, get online, and pull up all the graphic things related to the war as they want.
Yeah,
and I mean,
well, that's true.
Stuff that was never available during the Vietnam War is available now. I mean, you can sit there and watch live TV of Baghdad getting bombed.
Right.
I mean, that's
But you're not seeing the actual bodies. You're not seeing the...
Sure. I mean, it depends on where you look. You ever looked at Rotten.com?
That's horrible.
Okay, well, I just named one site, bro.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
okay.
Come on. I mean, it's there. If somebody wants to see it. I mean, you can witness people actually shooting themselves in the head and all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
I mean, the point of the matter is, I honestly believe that some of these conflicts, some of the circumstances and stuff that we're in, turn into a lot bigger issues and problems because of how they're approached.
Right.
People are sitting there and they're going. They're making a backseat drive. It's a backseat driver mentality. They're sitting in the back of the seat. They're not privy to the intel that's gone on. They're not privy to the circumstance or situation. The first time they heard about it was 5 hours ago with their buddy over the lunchroom. And next thing you know, they're turning into the news. They're hearing about. That's when they're hearing about after the government has already gone down with whatever it's gone down, and we're sitting there and we're going, hey, we shouldn't be there. Well, how can you sit there? I mean, like the Iraq War. How can you sit there and say, gee, we shouldn't be there when we had Democrats and Republicans on both sides that said we should go based on the intelligence and stuff that they saw? I mean, the concept, the thought process that you're going to have somebody sitting in a lunchroom on their lunch break and they're going to take this holier than thou attitude of, gee, we shouldn't be there, and spew the self-righteous indignation of the fact that we're there. It's a joke. It's just a joke. And so every single word that comes through the pipe, regardless of the circumstances or situations, you've got some liberal D-bag that's going to sit there and say, well, we shouldn't be there? Come on. How can you make that judgment? How can you make that statement?
Well, I'm not making that judgment.
Well, maybe you should be. So we can actually argue.
Well,
you can't sit
because
there
I'm
like
not the backseat driver.
A lump on the law. Come on, man.
But right, exactly.
I'm pitching stuff at you.
But the wars are decided for the most part. I mean, through the intel that we have, which as us in society we're not privy to.
No, we're not privy to it at all. We've got no clue.
Right.
We're going to sit there and we're going to go, oh, blah, blah, blah. Come on. We're going to argue about it. You know what? I'm not going to say that I haven't thrown in my 2 cents on how something's gone down. Mm-hmm. But the reasons behind whatever we're doing, man, I don't always know. Right. I mean, I just flat don't always know. So, I mean, you can't sit there and go, gee, I don't know. I don't think we should have done that. I mean, I can get all the information possible off the news. I can get all the information possible from the talking heads and all the articles and stuff that I read. At the end of the day, I don't have security clearance to hear the real scoop.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, none of us do.
So,
right.
I think it's a little absurd to take that approach.
Yeah. Right. Because we're not in the know. But what I was getting at as far as, this whole why are conservatives angry, which can go both ways.
I'm kind of angry right now. I mean, I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you angry about?
I'm angry over the fact that, I have so far proven in no uncertain terms that conservatives aren't angry.
Okay. Well, I happen to disagree. I think both liberals and conservatives are angry, and I think a lot of it is because of what they get from their news sources or whatever source that they listen to, because they want to be angry. They want to be disgusted. They want to be upset about, whatever, somebody on the left or somebody on the right did or what have you, and it just gets uglier and uglier.
I think once again, it's personal circumstances and situations that make up and determine who a person is are the very things that that promote and push those things that are political. I mean, these are social issues and stuff that apply to each individual, and that's what makes them so volatile.
Right.
So I'm not going to sit here and say that conservatives aren't angry. I think they are, but I think they're justified in their anger.
Mm. And you don't think liberals are?
I think in a lot of ways, liberals simply suffer from mental disorders, man. I mean, literally, you look at some of the things that they get frustrated. They literally, their argument, the whole argument, or a statement that could sum up everything that liberals fight for is simply, we don't want to be told what to do. Mm. They are 16-year-old juveniles that simply look at conservative values, morality, whatever you want to call it, and they're simply going to stand there in defiance and go, I am a spoiled brat. I should be told what to do, and I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, and everybody can just accept the consequences. That's their attitude. Mm. That's their attitude. Yeah. I mean, look at it. Birth control or abortion. We don't want to be told what to do. Gun control. Same type of deal. I mean, it's all the same crap.
Mm. Well, I'm real big on personal freedoms, and those personal freedoms
actually
include...
on gun control, it's the reverse. They want to tell other people what. Excuse me.
Right.
I just caught myself.
But I always come down on the side of personal freedoms. Personal freedom to keep and bear arms. Personal freedom to not wear a motorcycle helmet or a seatbelt. I don't think we should be legislating what we should or should not do based on what a few people think that should be the case.
Okay, let's look at it this way, though. Okay, because it is kind of a back and forth thing. Okay, so how is it that liberals can get on board and say, we don't want you to smoke in public places, mm-hmm. and they can get fervently behind that and say, listen, it's better for public safety and health and all these things, and
I know
we don't want
that's ridiculous.
We don't want you
to
smoke in public places,
right?
Okay, but then they turn around and in the same breath say, we want to legalize marijuana.
Yeah, I know.
You hearing me?
Right.
It's like, okay, if you can see the problem with smoking cigarettes and that type of thing, how can you sit there and in the same breath say, well, I want to legalize marijuana?
Because they'll say the medicinal factors of it.
It doesn't change the fact that it's a vice.
Right.
Okay? And vices tend to do harm. Mm. They tend to do harm. They tend to do more harm than they do good. Any monetary pleasure I get out of smoking does not compare in any way, shape, or form to the damage it's doing on my body.
Right.
So why would you sit there and try to condone or justify or encourage another vice?
Well, okay, understood. And we do the same thing with alcohol. I mean, alcohol is totally
too.
legal.
Same type of thing.
Yep.
How much time we got left?
Oh, geez, we got 5 minutes.
5 minutes left. Let me do the
fast
car
hour
segment of the show real quick.
Woo.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot through this. Wow. Maybe I don't have the tar bar segment of the show. I might have to do this from memory. I do, because the last page didn't print. Well, that's exciting.
Uh-oh.
Okay, tar bar segment of the show.
Hit it.
And I do remember. Okay, so first part of the year we talked about making a list. Last week we talked about getting an idea of what it takes to start a business in your own state. Okay. Mm-hmm. I got a quick secret I want to share with everybody. When you're looking at ways to save, conserve, make, or create money, you are not going to have everything you need to do that. There are some things that simply are not going to be made readily available to you right now.
Like funds?
Well, funds or whatever. You're
right.
not going to have all the tools.
Right.
I had a friend of mine that wanted to start an automotive business, and he was talking to me about what steps he needed to take to get started. And so I gave him the basic information in regards to how to start a business, looking at location, deciding on a name, stuff like that. And then he started listing all these tools, and he came up with a grand total of about $150,000 in capital that he would need to get started. And then he decided he wanted to try to get grants and loans and stuff like that. And I told him before he did that, I said, listen, you're going to be pushing an uphill battle in that regard. And what you might want to do is utilize the resources you have available right now, the tools and techniques and knowledge you have right now. Start out small, maybe replacing starters and batteries and stuff like that. And then over time, incorporate more. As your business grows and you're able to build a clientele, then you can buy more equipment, start doing more things, and then have the business that you want to have in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
He didn't do that, didn't take my advice, decided he was going to go get the loans and stuff. He got denied on everything, got discouraged, and now, to this day, 6 years later, he still doesn't own an auto shop. He's still not in business for himself. He's still working for somebody else, and he hates it. Folks, the bottom line is, you envision yourself in business, you can't envision yourself, a Walmart.
Right.
Walmart started out small. You got to start out small too. You have to utilize the tools and resources that are available within your reach, things that you can do right now to start out and create what you want to create.
Right. Write those goals, network with people, work with.
The biggest thing is sales and marketing when it comes to business. I don't
absolutely.
care what it is. So
Oh, yeah.
you got to figure
That's
out
the
how
big
to
one.
do that, but you got to start out small. And that's what you need to do. So that being said, if you like what you hear on the show, how many we got?
Got a minute.
Minute and a half. If you like what you've heard on the show, please go to the website, buycommonsense.com. Check out the support or sponsorship section of the site. I am in the process of getting that totally revamped and getting new things added. But I'd love for you guys to help us out here on the show. And if you'd like to be a guest, give us a call and or send us an email and set us up.
Yeah. Once again, the website address is www.buycommonsense.com.
Thank you much, folks. See you next week.
All right. Take care.
News, information, and entertainment. 1320 Info Radio, a Cumulus station.